appreciate it. And obviously, we've got a lot to talk about. Obviously, the new album, which has been a long time coming. It's been almost a decade in the works. How do you feel about this thing finally being, sort of unleashed to the rest of the world now?
Uh, it's like a big relief because it's something that's been sort of hanging over me for a long time,
Mm.
and people have been asking for a long time, and which is super cool, which is awesome, of course, because people asking means that people care. And for all kinds of reasons, it was a long journey getting this album out, uh, and we're just super thrilled to see that people actually stayed with us for all this time. Like it doesn't seem like a lot of people left, Like
Mm.
it seems like people are still interested. So yeah, so that feels amazing.
And during that time, I mean, was it sort of worked on in bits and pieces during that sort of 9 year period, or were you sort of working on it mostly during the last few years, or how did it all sort of work?
Sure, it was something that was slowly worked on for all these years. Uh, Songs were written in 2016, and like the principal recordings were done in 16 and 17. So we got the drums down, like rhythm guitars,
Hmm.
all lead vocals. So really like the all the main tracks. And then very very slowly just kept adding backing vocals, layers, like clean guitars, acoustic guitars, uh, and guitar solos. Guitar solos actually came pretty late.
Mm.
Yeah, so it was something that I was working on for a long time, and like in 16, uh, I felt kind of a little bit burnt out, like generally in life, but also specifically from Scar Symmetry, from having done the band for like 12 years, and I took on a lot of the responsibilities for like budgeting. I was basically the manager both
Mm.
on and off tour, so I handled a lot of stuff, and it was just very stressful. So I I kind of needed to do something else for a while. I was like asking the universe to provide me with
Mm.
something else,
Yeah.
and so I started touring with Nocturnal Rites and Meshuggah for a few years, uh, and it's like I got to do that thing. I got to do the hired gun thing for a bit, and so when I came back to Scar Symmetry, it was like the love was back,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
my passion and energy was back, and it's like I had looked over the fence to see if the grass was greener, and and uh, and I was missing my home turf.
Yeah, I mean that's how it works, isn't it? Sometimes when something is either you leave something or it's been taken away from you, and then you kind of appreciate it, when you don't have it, I guess. That's kind of what the feeling was, right?
Yeah, and part of the problem uh, that we had was that we weren't a very organized band. We didn't have like we weren't very structured. We didn't have like in every like in all kind of areas of what we did. Like we didn't have the proper gear when we toured, and we didn't have like a steady crew that we brought with us. Uh, we had some member changes
Hmm.
also throughout the years.
Yeah.
Uh, so there was like always things happening, like some relationships that weren't maybe like super healthy or so on. Like uh, so like something I took away from playing with Meshuggah was that they got their shit together like early on, because they became a pretty important and big band, sort of early on in their careers. At some point they had to stop like just doing touring punk style like we
Hmm.
used to do.
Yeah.
Uh, so they had to turn their thing into a proper business, which we never had done. So coming back now, I I managed to yeah, handle things in a different way than we used to. Like we got ourselves a management that co-manages the band with me, and we got some new booking agents, and yeah, I moved the business from like being self-employed to an LLC. Got legal representations, things like that.
Mm.
That really, takes the pressure off for me, so I can focus on being a creative person and yeah, doing the things that I'm good at, and leaving the other things for people who are experts at that. So that
Yeah.
was something very very important that I brought with me from having been inside of a very professional band like Meshuggah.
Yeah. Well, that's good to hear that things are progressing and moving forward, and obviously with the new album coming out. So when you came back to the new album and the recordings and sort of looking at the creative aspect of it, was there much at all that you wanted to change, sort of as you sort of took time to sort of be away from the band, or do you kind of just continued as you sort of left it as it was a few years back?
Oh, with the album,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, I mean, like the songs were written, and I didn't go back and change anything like that. I don't think like the experience like musically from both from playing with Nocturnal Rites and Meshuggah. Uh, I don't think like brought all that much musically with me. You know, it's
Mm.
so I just carried on business as usual and did my thing. And I've been getting that a question a lot because I'm doing interviews all days these days.
Hmm.
So people have asked me like if the Meshuggah gig influenced the new album, and some of the people I've been talking to who had been listening to the entire album, they thought that maybe it sounded like it was influenced by it. Like I don't hear it. I don't think there's a lot of
I don't hear it either, to be honest
Meshuggah
either.
elements. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. Like at least not more than we used to have. Like for sure, there's like snippets that could be traced back to when I listened to Meshuggah
Sure.
like 20 years ago,
Hmm.
which was when I started listening to them, and I was a big fan at the time. So and going forward, I'm actually gonna go into writing phase now and start working on the next album. And for me, it's like almost like now I haven't, because Meshuggah, their music was always kind of like a little part of or where I came from, like one of my like top favorite bands of the 90s. Uh, so what they do is like part of me, but now when I have actually played with them and been a touring member, it's almost like now I'm feeling like an anti Meshuggah influence.
Yeah.
Like I love the band, I love the
Hmm.
people. They're like the best people I know. So it's not that. It's more like uh, maybe I need to, maybe I play that music so much, and 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 I'm like, people are sort of I don't know, they're connecting me with the band and Meshuggah and what they do,
Mm.
and so maybe I want for my music to have more of a disconnect.
Yeah.
So yes, I think the coming Scar Symmetry album is gonna have even less of that kind of influence. But it might also have to do with like the gent thing has
Hmm.
been, it's been like a pretty big thing for now a really long time, right?
Yeah.
It's like it feels like everyone and his aunt has done it, like so.
Yeah, bit of an overkill, I guess. But yeah, I get what you mean, and I've listened to the album. I had a preview of the album yesterday, and I don't really hear the connection between you and Meshuggah. I think you your band has its own identity, and that's always been the thing for your band over the years. But what's interested me a lot, apart from the music, is the concept. The idea of technology and how it sort of plays its part in the human race and stuff. And I do wonder, like, what is your opinion on what you talk about on the album and what's going on now in today's world? Do you think that like it is sort of having a negative effect on the human population at the moment with the use of technology and how influential it's become?
Uh, I don't know. I think people have probably always been scared of. I mean, especially in the past 100 years or so, uh, when like technology has started, evolving faster and faster. Like if you lived in the 1400s, maybe it wasn't that big of a difference from the 1300s.
Sure.
But in the 20th century, like there was a big difference between the 50s and the 60s, and each decade has like progressed even like faster and faster. And I read something, someone describing like the technological evolution as being like a logarithmic curve. At first, goes on forever and is super flat, and then it slowly starts to rise, like the speed of the evolution, and then suddenly, and it's almost like vertical, and the evolution is so fast that like it's impossible to even understand what's going on. That's actually what our albums is about. That's the main concept, the technological singularity. That when you reach that super fast evolution, that is, of course, it's driven by artificial intelligence, because it's like the artificial intelligence can start to improve its own processes, so they go faster. Then that the new updated AI can upgrade itself, and everything just goes faster and faster in the flow of information. So I think people have like it's scary with change, and I'm thinking like when cars started becoming a thing that people could afford, and like the people who used to have maybe like people who bred horses, they were like, no, cars will never become a thing, like, and cars are so stupid. And suddenly cars were everywhere, and the horse breeders were largely out of business, and today it's like much more, it's so uncontrollable, because it's so hard. It's very hard to imagine what's going to happen. Even like we wrote the phase one in 13, I suppose. Yeah. And we were writing about like AI turning malevolent and evil in a sci-fi way. And even though I think we understood that AI was going to, appear, sooner than you would expect, I think we're still a little bit like, holy shit, it's here already, and it's pretty damn decent so far, and we're just seeing like the first few generations, and now there's going to be a race where every tech company is going to want to have their own AI. Of course, like everything is going to be driven by AI. So now we don't know to what extent like jobs will be replaced, and what's going to happen, and it's like, I think it's like it's going to be very demanding for society, because it's going to require some change, like political change, and like if the tech companies owns the AI, and the AI can replace a lot of jobs, like what's going to happen with the jobs? Then there's like people who lose their means of supporting themselves and their families, and the people who are owning the AI, they are going to make the money instead. So it's like I mean, today we see like a few people controlling like a really big part of like the entire planet's resources and assets, which is problematic in many ways.
Sure.
I don't think, like, regardless of where you are on the political scale, I'm sure anyone, like, if they really think about it, they could agree that it's problematic that like children die from malnutrition and the disease, while
Yeah,
some people have like money that they couldn't spend in like a billion years
sure.
or
Yeah.
something. Like there's something about that is kind of crazy if you think about it. And
Yeah.
how to like sort that thing out is seems to be very difficult since we are haven't figured it out. So I'm thinking maybe this is gonna be even worse. The people who are controlling so much of the resources, if they're gonna have even like bigger control. And uh, yeah, so yeah, like if we can manage to find a way for everyone to benefit from it, like we could have like a really beautiful era in front of us. Like people
Mm.
have to work less, spend more time doing creative things, doing art, spending time with families, and just like having a good time. And we have a lot of the labor being automated. That would be, really neat. But I doubt that it will come easy.
Yeah, no, I
So
agree. And I think if we were ever to, and I guess it's an optimistic sort of point of view to think if we can get to that point, have everyone just sort of do whatever they want to do while still be able to support themselves, I think that would be a fantastic world. But I guess that's a very optimistic sort of point of view then, right?
yeah, I mean, as a person, I'm pretty positive because like it's nicer to just think about positive things than negative things,
Yeah. Yeah.
especially the kind of things that I cannot really control. And I mean, I'm thinking that a lot of things are gonna, you know, go in a positive direction. And generally, I think probably the world is becoming a better place. And
Mm.
sometimes some places go backwards for a bit, but then like uh, but like what we write about is like the sci-fi, the robots turn on their creators kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I don't think that might be the most uh, like the most pressing like matter that's not like the evil that is concerning people. Like it's more that thing that like what happens if we lose our jobs and we have to sell our houses and
Sure.
that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, look, congratulations on the new album. And as I said, it's fantastic stuff as you always have. And the concept is brilliant and very thought provoking. It's very good to sort of see music and have that sort of idea and sort of make people think as well at the same time. So, love it.
mhm.
So what's on the cards for you now for the next sort of few months or so? Just a lot of touring, I guess, or
Yeah, it's a little bit of touring. Uh, we are releasing the album in a few weeks,
hmm
and so we got the release date set a little bit too late to be like eligible to play like all the festivals this summer because everything was already fully booked. And because many festivals they can book a year or even more in advance. um, and they also have like a backlog of canceled canceled editions so they have to carry the bands with them
yeah.
throughout the pandemic. And now like finally they can do some of the shows. So yeah, so we only have like a handful of festivals this summer. So we're thinking like the real touring schedule is gonna start this fall. We have a European headline tour coming up where we are locking in some dates in Japan right now.
Okay.
Um, and I'm thinking 24, we're gonna try to come back to North America, maybe go to South America for the first time.
hmm
Uh, I'm very, very hopeful that we will make it to Australia, perhaps even New Zealand. We'll see. But we've never been to Australia, so that would be super sick, of course.
Yeah, well, it'll be good to have you here. I mean, I noticed you mentioned Japan, which is not too far from Australia. It could be a possibility to go through Japan and come down to Australia from there, which a lot of bands do, I guess. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We just might. We'll see. It's a weird world to plan tours in right now,
Yeah.
because what promoters and venues are still in business, like it's very shaky for them as well, because
Hmm.
everyone took a big hit having all these cancellations and no work for a few years. So yeah, so it's kind of hard to like get the budgets together. And I mean, I read all the time, like almost every day. I feel like I read about some band that they decide to scrap their tour, like it
Yeah.
was impossible. It was too expensive. Like
Mm.
we're right now uh, looking at tour buses for the fall, and it's like it's incredibly expensive. It's like
Mm.
twice the price it used to be.
Yeah, absolutely
So
crazy. But look, good luck on the tour, and hopefully it all works out. And as I said, I'd love to have you down in Australia for the first time. It would be absolutely a pleasure to have you down here. So, like, thanks for your time, man. I really appreciate it, and congratulations once again on the new album.
thanks, man. Thanks for having me.